The following program is intended for mature audiences.
A democratic republic of sports. The Sportsocracy with ESPN Asheville hosts Tank Spencer and Jeremy Greene.
Welcome into the Wicked Weed Studios, wickedweedbrewing.com. Drink different. I'm Jeremy Greene. This is Brian Haynes, and this is the 2021 Quarterback Manifesto. I have never done this out loud. I have written this for years. I got a wild hair that we were going to do this today. And you know what? This is going to be a fun day. Brian, this is an interesting quarterback draft, one of the most interesting ones I've ever seen. We have 5 first-round quarterbacks in this draft. And I've heard so much talk about, is Justin Fields good? Is Trey Lance good? They're all good. If they weren't good, we wouldn't be talking about them. The problem is, and we do this as a scouting community, that we worry so much about, is a player good? Of course he is. The problem is, where do they fit? And so what we're going to do in this show is I'm going to give you a little rant about how I feel about quarterbacks, ways that I've used to grade them over the years, and then we're going to compare this year's quarterbacks to guys that you're familiar with, guys that have been drafted. Some of them go back to when I was in middle school. Okay. One of them literally goes back to the year 2000. So this is going to be a fun day. Brian, what is your overview on this year's quarterback class?
I think it's probably one of the best quarterback classes we've seen in a very, very, very long time. I honestly think there could be 6 or 7 starters in this draft class. I'm not saying 6 or 7 are going to start next year. I'm projecting over the future. I think that 6 or 7 of these guys have an opportunity to be starters in this league. From top to bottom, there's a solid 8 quarterbacks actually in this draft.
That's who we'll be talking about today. There are 8 quarterbacks in this draft that we'll be profiling today.
That's great. You got your top tier guys. They're going to be on there. Obviously, we pretty much know that. We pretty much have the idea that the 3 guys are going to go in the top 3, and then 2 other guys probably in the top 15 of the draft, maybe even higher than that. And then I think we're going to have some early second rounders and maybe early third, but I don't even know if they even get to the third.
In my mock draft, I have 1 guy going in the second round. I have 2 going in the third. Here's the thing. The way that this works with people that do what I do, analysts, we don't look at a draft class until 3 years out. So we're still, even with Kyler Murray, Daniel Jones, Dwayne Haskins, I think we can pretty much.
I think we know that one.
I think we can put a period on that sentence. But this is the year that we start looking at the Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Josh Allen draft. And I'm going to use that as an example of something I've been trying to say for years, because Sam Darnold has become the perfect poster child of this for me. If the Cleveland Browns had done what I said they should do from Jump Street and taken Sam Darnold at 1, the Jets would most likely have taken Josh Allen at 3. I don't know where the hell Baker Mayfield would have gone. It sure as hell wouldn't have been 1.
No.
And then Lamar Jackson, I think Lamar Jackson still would have wound up in Baltimore. Josh Rosen most likely still ends up in Arizona. Do you realize how differently we would be talking about that class right now?
Yeah.
If just that one thing happens.
Yeah.
Sam Darnold goes 1, and everything else comes tumbling after. Do you realize how different that class would have been?
It would be extremely different, because you look at these things now and you're like, where would have been the best fit for that quarterback in that draft? And obviously, you're looking at it a couple years later and you see, if Sam was given the opportunity to be playing in Cleveland like Baker is, I think he's going to be a much better quarterback. Josh Allen, if he would have went to the Jets, would we be talking about him as an MVP quarterback? We have these other things, obviously, then Baker, who knows what happens with that, and then we go from there. But I think that the best thing to do at this point is maybe, and I think that's where you're going to kind of get at. You're looking for the fit, where these quarterbacks could fit well in with the team that drafts them, and if they're drafted by some other team, what could possibly happen to them.
So here's how I'm going to do this. I'm going to take the 5 teams that literally drafted quarterbacks, and I'm going to go with the intel I had on these teams coming into the draft. The Browns would take Sam Darnold at 1. I firmly believe with Odell Beckham Jr., Jarvis Landry, Austin Hooper, and above all else, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt back behind him, I think we would be talking about Sam Darnold as a $30 million quarterback, not Baker Mayfield.
Not at all.
Do you disagree with anything I just said?
I don't disagree with that whatsoever. I believe Sam just was not given any opportunity to succeed. Multiple coaches, one of them being Adam Gase, who I truly believe is the worst coach in the history of football.
Nope, Rich Kotite is another Jets coach. You're close. He was markedly fatter and had a much more receding hairline.
Yeah, absolutely.
And wore that sweet 1996 starter jacket.
That starter jacket was money, though. Come on, let's be
Everybody
honest.
had that one, but if it wasn't the Charlotte Hornets, it was bullshit.
Yeah. I love those starter jackets. I think I had a Atlanta Hawks one.
Everybody had one. And most of them were, for some reason, the Charlotte Hornets. And I don't know why.
Those colors were just so pretty.
They were wonderful.
So, I mean, you look at this and you say, obviously, Darnold would have had a better surrounding cast, a better opportunity to succeed. I think then you go to like Josh Allen going to the Jets. I think they throw him out there, and I think he ends up getting killed.
Yeah, we would be talking about Josh Allen as the bust that we talk about Sam Darnold as.
Yeah. And
you know why? Because you know what wasn't coming to New York? Stephon Diggs.
Yeah.
That wasn't happening. That defense was not in New York. That's how different these things can be. And we get fixated on, is this guy a bust? But you don't think about where they went. Mm-hmm. I mean, look at it over the course of time. And I'll go back 5 years. Do you think if Pat Mahomes had gone to the Jets at 6, who, by the way, they were very interested in him, they took Jamal Adams instead, do you think we'd be talking about Patrick Mahomes as the best quarterback in the NFL? No.
No. Not at all.
He went to the best situation humanly possible, and they totally bought in because they gave up 2 1s and a 3 to get up there and get him. They gave him Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who I'm not super fond of, but it's beside the point. He's still a talented player. That's where everything matters. All right, let's say Kansas City had taken Deshaun Watson instead of Patrick Mahomes. His current legal problems aside, I don't want to talk about that.
No.
Do you not think Deshaun Watson would be in the same? Do you think Patrick Mahomes is markedly more talented than Deshaun Watson?
I think if Deshaun Watson was on the Chiefs, they'd still be getting to the Super Bowl or championship games like they are now. We'd be talking about Deshaun Watson with his stats. I think Patrick Mahomes is still an incredible quarterback who could have probably lifted most teams, the Jets being aside from that.
Yeah. The Jets had nothing around them. And I keep killing the Jets because the Jets keep taking quarterbacks.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Jets and Bears and Bengals and things like that. The days of Achilles Smith where we just completely miss on a guy because we got duped by stats, that's done.
Yeah.
You see every one of these quarterbacks on ESPN, CBS Sports Network, FS1. We consume so much content. There's no way to get duped by a guy the way we did in the past. So now all these guys are talented. The only thing that matters is the fit.
Right.
But nobody ever gets that. You don't ever get a mulligan on, he would have been good, but he just wasn't good with you.
Right.
Conversely, would Lamar Jackson be good with any team in the NFL other than the Baltimore Ravens?
Well, here's the thing. I believe that what Baltimore did, and I think what Buffalo did with Josh Allen, is that they saw who they had. They reworked their team to fit around that quarterback as opposed to trying to get that quarterback to fit into what they were doing. I think that is what happened for these guys. So it helped Lamar Jackson that everybody decided, you know what, we're going away from the pocket passer with Flacco and we're going to keep going with Lamar Jackson. We're going to build around him with that. We're going to be doing a whole new offense designed to help Lamar Jackson succeed. Buffalo did the same thing with Josh Allen. They took him in, they gave him an opportunity, they saw some of the deficiencies he had, but then they said, you know what, this kid can play. Then they go out and they get an all-world wide receiver and Stephon Diggs, and look what happened this year. So a lot of this has to do with teams drafting a guy and building around that guy as opposed to that guy just coming in and having to be fit into their program.
One of the funniest things that I go through this a lot, you ever notice that good quarterbacks always tend to have good receivers? Do you find that to be an irony? I want you to think back to Peyton Manning. How many Brandon Stoklys did Peyton Manning have? That they were great with Peyton, and then they went somewhere else, and they were bullshit.
Right.
Dallas Clark. How good was Dallas Clark with any other quarterback? Weird how that happens, isn't it? Tom Brady. How many Danny Amendola, Julian Edelman receivers did he make? Wes Welker.
Deion Branch.
Weird how that happened. Deion Branch is a great example.
Yeah.
Deion Branch gets paid, goes to Seattle, doesn't have a quarterback, and all this, oh shit, where'd he go?
Yep. See you later.
Deion was just here.
Yep.
He just won a Super Bowl MVP. Where the hell did he go?
Yeah.
And that's the funny thing to me is that we always blame the quarterback. And I think that's where we innately make mistakes grading quarterbacks. It's really not that hard to figure out who's going to be a good quarterback in this league. I have comparisons on the top 8 quarterbacks in my rankings. I'm going to go through them one by one. And I'm going to throw out the quarterback. Brian, you tell me who you would compare them to, a little profile, and then I will tell you most likely where you're wrong.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. I like this.
The first one is Trevor Lawrence. And I'm not going to put out who my comp is until you've done yours.
Yes. Okay, so Trevor Lawrence is obviously the prototypical franchise quarterback. He's got the size, the pocket presence. He's a 3-year starter. He's a dual threat. He does get a little bit frantic under constant pressure. But Trevor Lawrence is unbelievable. I think that the comparison that I would make, and I know that this has been made a ton of times, and it's the easy one to make, but he's the best quarterback I've seen, and Andrew Luck, I think, is the comparison for me.
So that's the comparison I routinely hear with Trevor Lawrence. They're reasonably similar in that they're both tall and they're very talented. That's not the comparison that I'm going to make. Okay. The comparison I'm going to make is Trevor Lawrence is Joe Burrow.
Oh, wow. This is... Ooh.
The game is not all that similar. Here's where it is similar. They're anticipation throw guys. That throw guys open. They did tremendous things in college. Here's where my analysis goes a little different than everybody else's. Look at the situation. Everybody says Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck went to the Colts, who had been good forever, and then Peyton Manning gets hurt. Mm-hmm. The team wasn't bad. I mean, it's not like he went to a franchise that was deceased.
Right.
That's what Joe Burrow did. Joe Burrow went to a team. Good Lord. That was, I don't know why that word was so hard to get out of my mouth. Joe Burrow went to a team that had no talent around him. And what happened? He got hurt in 10 games.
Yeah.
And he got hit more than any quarterback in the NFL. Threw the ball damn near more than any quarterback in the NFL. I'm afraid that's what's going to happen with Trevor Lawrence. I'm afraid a year from now we're going to be talking about Trevor Lawrence the way we're talking about Joe Burrow. I don't try to forecast injuries. I don't try to predict injuries. I'm afraid we're going to look at Trevor Lawrence in a year from now. We're going to be going, well, you know, he just wasn't as good as I thought he was going to be. I mean, he was good, but he wasn't a Pro Bowler, which I think a lot of people think he's going to walk right into the league and be an immediate Pro Bowler. He's not. You know the other big similarity between these two? What's the best position group for the Cincinnati Bengals?
Wide receiver.
Wide receiver. What's the best position group for the Jacksonville Jaguars?
Wide receiver.
Wide receiver.
Yeah.
And Adam Black said in the comments, I think the most important thing to the success of a quarterback is the offensive line.
Right.
I'm going to disagree with you. That's my 2. Culture is number 1. The most important thing to determine how good a quarterback's going to be is the culture around them. Because if you have the right culture, you have the right GM, they put the right pieces around you because they can figure out how to do that. I had a fear with that with Cincinnati. I have a fear with that with Jacksonville.
Yeah, I think that's the fear with Trevor Lawrence. I think everybody has this idea. Their offensive line is not that great. They franchised Cam Robinson, which I think was a huge mistake. I think Urban Meyer has the opportunity to probably destroy this guy, and that is my biggest fear. I think Cincinnati, on the other hand, is addressing those issues they did a little bit in the offseason. I think in the upcoming draft, you're going to see Cincinnati make the right decisions and put the pieces around Joe that they need to. I mean, I know there's talk of, you know, he wants Jamar Chase and they're willing to go get him. And I think that's what you need to do. Other than that, they need to shore up that offensive line for sure. But I'm afraid, I'm fearful of Trevor Lawrence year 1. And if Jacksonville doesn't do anything to surround him with what he needs, I'm afraid what could happen to him in the future.
And that's the thing. And that's why I've said this year that if I was the Cincinnati Bengals, I would take Penei Sewell at 5. I wouldn't think a second thing about it.
Yeah.
If he was on the board at 5, I would put in that would be the card I would slip in, and I wouldn't wait 10 minutes for the clock to tick down. I would do it at 9:57 because that's how long it takes me to write Penei Sewell. I clocked it. Because then you can move Jonah Williams to the inside and all those things.
Right.
What I look at with Trevor Lawrence is now you got Cam Robinson that's masquerading as a franchise left tackle. He's not.
No.
You have the Taylor kid out of Florida that's been a good, not great right tackle. Then you have a really good interior of the line. The interior of the line is not what protects a quarterback. That's what opens up holes in the running game. I'm not saying it hurts. I'm just saying that you have two, what I think to be below average tackles in this league on each side. What does that sound like? That sounds like Joe Burrow to me.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think the comparison to Trevor Lawrence, I get it, but I think it's somewhat lazy. And I think you have to look, and that's what this exercise is.
Right.
I'm looking at the scheme fit. I'm looking at the player. I'm looking at the everything. Talent for talent, I think Joe Burrow and Trevor Lawrence are about as close as you're going to get. Mm-hmm. Andrew Luck's closer. He went into a markedly different situation than Trevor Lawrence is getting ready to.
Absolutely.
The second one, Zack Wilson.
Oh, boy.
He will be going to my Fighting New York Jets. Brian, give me your take on Zack Wilson.
Zack Wilson is obviously started screaming up boards starting with this year. He had the fight to become the starter there. He's got a mobility. His improvisational is high. He's gunslinger, and he's got some swagger. I don't think New York's going to be too big for this guy. There is some maturity issues, but I think those have been kind of answered a little bit, I think he's going to be mature enough to handle this whole thing. He excels in a pro offense, and he does play hero ball a lot. He does decide, hey, I want to go for the big play as opposed to making the right play. I think that's something that they need to wrangle in a little bit. You may like this comparison. I did go a little bit further back in time. Jake Plummer.
Whoa, that's way back.
Yep. That's where I went with that one.
Zack Wilson is markedly more talented than Jake Plummer, but I will give you credit. That's an interesting one that I had not thought of. I agree with about half of what you just said.
Okay.
The hero ball thing with Zack Wilson's bullshit. Mm-hmm. Of course he did. He was playing low-level competition.
Right.
You know what I could say about every lower-level quarterback, including Trey Lance? They play hero ball because they can. They're the most talented player on the field. My comparison to Zack Wilson is Carson Wentz.
Oh.
Here's why.
Oh,
the
boy.
games don't look all that similar. The knock on both was that they played a lower level of competition. And we'll have to bring them along slowly. No, you won't. No, you won't, because they're big talents. The problem is that I feel the exact same way about the Jets' weaponry and the Jets' offensive line that I feel about Carson Wentz. Here's another thing that you probably don't remember. What year did Doug Peterson get hired? The year they drafted Carson Wentz.
That's right.
So you bring in a high-level coordinator that's very well respected. A lot of people think very highly of him, and he comes in with a new quarterback, and you completely reset the script.
Yeah.
I see a lot of comparisons to this. I think the Zack Wilson thing will go better because I believe more in Rob Saleh than I ever did in Doug Peterson. However, Doug Peterson was a quarterback guy. So is Mike LaFleur.
Yeah.
And I look at Zack Wilson, and I say this scheme is built very well for him. And Zack Wilson is the first guy that I can say what I'm getting ready to say. Trevor Lawrence, I don't give a damn what team he goes to. He's probably going to the worst team in the NFL.
Yeah.
That he could go to. Houston's at least built for high-level quarterbacks. Detroit, they at least have a couple linemen.
Yeah.
They don't have any receivers, but they've got a bunch of running backs. They have things that could help him. I'm probably more nervous about him in Jacksonville than I would be anywhere. Zack Wilson would be very team-specific. Let's say just in another universe, the Jets get enamored with Trey Lance and they take him at 2. I still like Zack Wilson in San Francisco.
Yeah.
I like Zack Wilson in Denver. I wouldn't have liked Zack Wilson in Carolina.
No.
I don't like him having to run that pick and pop offense that Joe Brady runs. Mm-hmm. You're giving him too much leeway. Now, there are a lot of quarterbacks that I would have liked in Carolina. Zack Wilson's not one of them.
Yeah.
I look at Zack Wilson and go, the reason I think this is going to work because I think this is the perfect fit. And I'll tell you why. This Mike LaFleur San Francisco offense, they don't ask quarterbacks to do a shitload. Mm-mm. That's the reason that the quarterback that's coming up next is who's going to go at 3. And when you hear the comparison, you'll go, oh, wait.
Oh, wait.
That makes sense. I like Zack Wilson. I like the tape on him. I think he gets a bad rap for some bad tape. He was a 19-year-old kid when most of that tape was being put out there. Yeah. So I believe in Zack Wilson. I've had him as my number 2 since about the 3rd week of last year.
Yeah.
He's never made me nervous. Mm-hmm. And Adam Black said mentally fragile. This kid's not mentally fragile. This kid thinks he has the biggest wiener in every building he's ever been in. And you know what? In New York, I like that. Yeah. The thing that I think screwed up Sam Darnold is that he was so meek. Yeah. Sam Darnold was a California kid. Surfer kid, it is what it is. Oh, shit. That doesn't play in New York. New York wants you to be Joe Namath. We've been searching for a Joe Namath for 50 years, and Zack Wilson can be that. This kid thinks he is the baddest man on the planet, and he will tell you that. Yeah. And that was a lot of the maturity things came from people who were off put by him because he's a little bit cocky. You know where cocky works? New York. If you're winning. Yeah. If you're losing, it will blow up in your face quickly. Yeah. But I believe Zack Wilson with the Jets is a perfect fit.
Well, also, the fact of the matter is that the Jets have 150,000 draft picks over the next couple of years that can help build around this guy. If you know this is the guy you're going to get at number 2, then you say, okay, what do we need to make this guy succeed? So they're going to take these draft picks over the next couple of years and they're going to say, we need to build around this guy. What do we need to get? With all those draft picks, they can trade up, they can do whatever. If they want a guy, they're going to go get a guy, period. That's what's going to be a difference for Zack Wilson in New York, where I think it was a little bit different with Sam Darnold going to New York.
Sam Darnold was given virtually nothing. Yeah. And you had Sam Darnold was drafted by a GM that's not Joe Douglas. Yeah. Which, by the way, why teams continue to do that, I have absolutely no idea. I will never understand why you allow a GM that's on the hot seat to draft a quarterback. Mm-hmm. Because then it puts you into this fun level of bullshit that the Jets have been in forever. Now Joe Douglas, who is entrenched as the GM, is taking the quarterback that he wants. He has the coach that he wants. He has the scheme that he wants. And now you can watch him build a team. I've heard enough people say, Joe Douglas is not a good GM. Give it time. Give it time. He's been universally respected as one of the 5 smartest guys in the NFL for years.
Absolutely.
And you're about to see why. The next quarterback on our list is Mack Jones. I've heard a narrative on Mack Jones of, he's screamed up boards since the season ended. He hasn't played one game. Allow me to address that, because that's one of the stupidest things people say on a regular basis. You do realize that we don't dive into this tape until the season's over, right? Right. Like, while this is happening, there's a lot of people like me that have shows and have things to do during football season. The season's still going on. We're still talking about it. We don't have the ability to digest the film until there's not any more football. This happens every year, and yet people, he hasn't played one game and he's passed Justin Fields. Of course he has. Because we've started watching tape on him, and now we see that he is what I'm getting ready to tell you that he is. And Justin Fields is a guy that will get you fired. But I'll get to that in a minute. Yeah. Brian, what is your take on Mack Jones?
Okay. Mack Jones is a very smart kid. Mack Jones is a gamer. His players absolutely love him. His teammates cannot say enough of him. He's extremely accurate. He doesn't turn the ball over. The knocks on him are obviously his athleticism is not there. He has problems with the ball handling and RPOs. He's got just an average release, but the guy is, I hate using the word game manager, but this is I think why San Francisco is choosing Mack Jones. I think they got an offense where they want a guy who's not going to turn the ball over, is going to make the right decision, and isn't going to do anything to hurt your team. And Mack Jones is that guy. I had a comparison, and I went back again, and it was funny because we just seen him on screen yesterday, but I went with Chad Pennington as my comparison. Oh, baby!
That's exactly who it is. Exactly who it is. Here's the thing. Here's what people don't remember about Chad Pennington. Do you remember how Chad Pennington wound up as a Jet?
I don't remember the whole. I can't remember the whole thing about it. Let me refresh my memory.
Yeah, let the Jet fan tell you. This was when we traded Keyshawn Johnson to Tampa Bay and got 2 1s for him. Mm-hmm. And we had 4 first-round picks in this draft. The Jets passed on Chad Pennington 2 times. They took Sean Ellis out of Tennessee and John Abraham out of South Carolina ahead of him. He was the number 1 quarterback in this draft. The Pittsburgh Steelers had the pick right in front of us, and it was universally thought Pittsburgh's going to take him. They were in between quarterbacks. He was the best one out there, and then they passed. And it was almost like Bill Parcells went, oh, shit.
Yeah.
I need a quarterback. I guess I have to do this. Famously, he was on the phone. There's a picture. You'll see it online. It's circulated in every group I'm in. He's watching a television that I think is as big as this table. And I'm not talking about screen size. I'm talking about I think it's that deep. The old school 2000 television. And he's on this weird old school phone. And it was almost like, it's fine. It's kind of how I feel like San Francisco is doing with Mack Jones.
Yeah.
They're going, we need a quarterback because it's not Jimmy Garoppolo because we can't trust him to stay healthy. Mm-hmm. What do you need in that system? In that San Francisco system, what is that system predicated on?
Not turning the ball over.
And?
Making the right decision.
Being accurate.
Accurate, yes.
Accuracy. Because the whole name of that game is get the ball to your playmakers and let your playmakers make plays. That's what Mack Jones is going to do. I love Mack Jones with the San Francisco 49ers. I hate him damn near everywhere else.
Yeah.
I would have hated him in Jacksonville. I would have hated him with the Jets. I wouldn't hate him in Denver.
Carolina?
I wouldn't hate him in New England. I would have hated him in Carolina. Because Carolina's got two heavy, big play hitters.
Yeah.
That's not what he does. I understand he had a great deep ball. Go back and watch that film. I could have thrown this shit. Yeah. He's protected beautifully. He can throw it out of his shoes, and all he has to do is get it close to Jalen Waddle.
Yeah.
That's not NFL football. Now, what he can do is be really smart because he is insanely smart. You know what Chad Pennington was? He was a Rhodes Scholar.
Yeah. Extremely smart.
You see how this kind of makes sense when you start talking about it? Once you see the comp to Chad Pennington, you can't unsee it.
Yeah.
And I got news for you. As somebody that watched Chad for 10 years as our quarterback, if the NFL had it to do over again, knowing what Chad Pennington would be, he'd been a top 5 pick.
Yeah. I mean, he's still top 5 in accuracy all time in the NFL. We went through this list yesterday. It was pretty actually fun.
You know how many of the quarterbacks that are it's actually top 7 because there's 3 tied at 5. Do you know how many of the top 7 in completion percentage in NFL history play right now?
There was 6 of the top 7.
6.
Yeah.
6 of the top 7 completion percentage quarterbacks in NFL history are playing right now.
Yeah.
Chad Pennington was way ahead of that, and Mack Jones is going to be the same guy. I think they will be the same guy. And I think the talent around Mack Jones in San Francisco is going to be markedly better. This narrative of, Justin Fields is better, but he's not for San Francisco.
No.
That's where we do this wrong constantly. Teams just say, I need a quarterback, and that's the best quarterback. Well, he's not necessarily the best quarterback for you. Just because he's the best quarterback, and I got news for you. Justin Fields is the 3rd most talented quarterback in this draft.
Yeah.
I'm sure that a lot of people just went, oh, shit.
I can't believe he actually said it.
Yeah, here's the problem. He doesn't fit anywhere. He doesn't fit with any of these teams. But I'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
Mack Jones's Chad Pennington that's a comp that you're not going to be able to unsee.
Yep.
And when you hear it that way, I think it makes it a lot more digestible that he's going to go at 3.
Yep. Absolutely. I think that San Francisco is going to it works out good. The only Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel get injured a little bit. George Kittle's getting injured a little bit. These guys need to stay healthy. If these guys are going to miss significant time next year, I think Mack Jones is going to struggle very much. But they run a zone, rushing game where anybody in the world can go back there and seem to get a 1,000-yard season. It goes back to what his father did in Denver when, Olandis Gary and the Andersons of the world were just getting 1,500 yards after Terrell Davis left. It was insane.
Yeah, guess what? That's getting ready to happen in New York, too.
Yeah, I know, right?
And I have them taking Travis Etienne, who, by the way, would be the most talented running back anybody affiliated with the Shanahan's ever had.
Right. So I think they have the pieces to help Mack Jones succeed. He's not going to jump out of the screen and say, oh, my God, this guy's incredible. Look at his arm strength. Look at all this. But he's accurate as hell and very, very smart. And I think it's going to work.
All right, my number 4 quarterback in this draft is the aforementioned Justin Fields. I have killed Justin Fields, and I'm getting ready to say things about him that will blow your mind because I'm going to be much nicer than you think I'm going to be. Brian, what is your take on Justin Fields?
Justin Fields, dual threat, tough kid. He's a real tough kid. He took a hit in that semifinal game against Clemson. came back out, and still played well. He's got really good lateral movement, and he stands in the pocket pretty well. But he's got below average arm strength, and what Ohio State did, their offense was designed to get the ball to Olave and Wilson, and that was what it was. I mean, if you look on at the actual targets for any other wide receiver on that team, it was so much further down than those two. Basically, the play was to get the ball to these two and let them have it. So he was already knew where he was going before that. That's a little bit of the problem that I have with him. I just see him as, my comparison is going to be Cam Newton. I think that was extremely athletic, freak out of college, coming into the thing, but not very accurate. Cam's arm strength is a lot better than Justin Fields, but decision making and things like that, I would say that was my comparison.
I'm going to say this as nicely as I can. That comparison is so stupid that I can't wrap my brain around it, and I hear it constantly. It's the Pro Football Focus's comparison is a smaller Cam Newton. That is stupid. Do you know how much Cam Newton outweighs Justin Fields by? He's 2.5 inches taller, and he outweighs him by 35 pounds. And I would say if you get to body mass and BMI and all these things, Cam Newton would dwarf Justin Fields. That's not the comparison. I have a comparison, and here's another thing. This is something that a lot of people don't talk about with Justin Fields. I'll go ahead and tell you who the comp is, and then I'll tell you why it is. Okay. Justin Fields is Robert Griffin III.
Oh, wow.
The knock on RG3 was, he's not a good thrower of the football. Let me tell you a fun stat about RG3. You know what his completion percentage was in college?
It was like 80%, wasn't it?
It was 72.5.
Yeah, like it was insane.
Do you know what Justin Fields was?
70.
Cam Newton's was 66 in his best year at Auburn. And that was running a pick and pop Gus Malzahn offense.
Yeah.
That's not the problem with Justin Fields. The problem with Justin Fields is he doesn't fit in any scheme. You tell me the quarterback, or you tell me the team that needs a quarterback where Justin Fields fits. Because there is one, but it won't be him.
Only the one I can think of is New England.
He doesn't fit in New England?
No.
How the hell does he fit in New England? We just watched this with a quarterback whose first instinct is to run with Cam Newton, and it was a disaster.
That's true. That's true.
So you're stuck in this Cam Newton thing, and this is what people do with Justin Fields, and this is the reason that I've bashed him sideways, because people keep trying to put him in situations he doesn't fit. The Jets are running the San Francisco offense. I've already said he doesn't fit in San Francisco because the goal is to get the ball out of your hand quickly, check down, smart decisions, don't push the ball. What is the biggest knock on Justin Fields? He constantly pushes the ball. He never throws tight window throws, which is what the San Francisco offense is predicated on.
Right.
So he doesn't fit with the Jets. He doesn't fit with San Francisco. There's one team he fits with, and they won't take him. It's the Atlanta Falcons. That's the one team where he fits, and I've said that from Jump Street. And I would love him in Atlanta. I think he could be a much better version of Ryan Tannehill. The problem is Arthur Smith doesn't want to take a quarterback. The GM does. Arthur Smith doesn't.
Yeah.
Arthur Smith wants to roll with Matt Ryan. And you know what? Arthur Smith's going to win. They're not taking a quarterback at 4. That's the one place he fits. All right, you put him in New England. It's that same pick and pop. Now, it's a different variation of it.
Right.
But it's that same, you have to be smart, accurate, not turn the ball over, which, by the way, Justin Fields played 2 legitimate defenses this year. He threw 5 interceptions in those 2 games combined. That's the problem. Yeah, he can destroy Rutgers. He's really good at beating Penn State, who was a fucking disaster last year. He can beat really bad defenses. What do you, if that's the tell on you in college, what does that mean you need in the NFL?
I'm not sure about that one. I mean, I think he needs
If the tell on you is that you can beat really bad defenses in college, that means you need really good weapons in the NFL.
Yeah, okay.
It's Baker Mayfield syndrome.
Yeah.
Baker Mayfield is really good in Cleveland. Statistically, he's great. You know when that's going to stop? When you have to pay him $30 million.
Right.
And all of a sudden, you don't have Odell Beckham Jr., Jarvis Landry, and Austin Hooper, and Kareem Hunt, and Nick Chubb. When the supporting cast around Baker goes away, and now you have to be a bigger percentage of why your team wins because you're a bigger percentage of the cap, that's when you see who a guy really is.
Right.
On a rookie deal, a lot of quarterbacks can win in the NFL. Lamar Jackson's winning right now in the NFL on a rookie deal because he has an unbelievable supporting cast around him. Come to me 3 years from now when he's making $30+ million. That's how I feel about Justin Fields. I think the first 4 years, people will tell me I'm out of my mind. It's going to be Lamar Jackson all over again. I see this coming. I know exactly how this is going to go. He's going to go to a team, he's going to put up numbers, and they're going to be fine. Because I think he either ends up in Denver, maybe New England. He's going to fall further than you think he will. And I firmly believe that.
Yeah, I think, again, it's going to be a situation where what team has him and what are they going to do to build around him? Is this guy the quarterback that you're going to have for the future? I think that's what it is, and why you say Atlanta. That I think sitting around Matt Ryan would help this guy. I think going to Denver, I think he would just get thrown in too fast. They have a ton of weapons, but they don't run that same offense.
Think about what I just said. Think about what I just said with Denver. Denver is actually would be they wouldn't be my 1B. They would be my 2 for Justin Fields. Because they have unbelievable weapons.
Yeah.
He's got Melvin Gordon. Mike Boone, who I like, that they like better than Philip Lindsay, which should tell you a lot.
Yeah.
Noah Fant, Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, Tim Patrick.
KJ Hamler.
KJ Hamler.
Yeah.
That team has so many weapons that I look at Justin Fields and go, yeah, you could be productive there. The problem is that I'm afraid when the weapons go away, so does your production.
Right.
And that's the problem that I have with Justin Fields.
Yeah.
I'm afraid he's going to be thrown to a team that does not have those level of weapons, and it's going to make him look very, very average. Next quarterback on our list is Trey Lance from North Dakota State. Brian, give me your comp on Trey Lance.
Okay, Trey Lance, 1-year starter. He's only 20 years old, so he's young and he's got a lot of room to improvement. He's dual threat and his arm is unbelievable. He does have pretty good feet in the pocket, but I think he needs to trust the pocket a little more. And he's inexperienced, small school, all these things. I think my comparison to him is actually Ryan Tannehill. A little bit inexperienced as a starter, as a quarterback, has the ability to run, but also would rather make plays with their arm as opposed to running. They don't run first. They want to make the throw first and then run if they have to.
So your comparison is Ryan Tannehill.
Yes, sir.
I don't hate that. My knock on that would be that Ryan Tannehill started as a receiver.
Yeah.
And the knock on Ryan Tannehill, yes, is that he didn't have a lot of experience. He made very bad decisions. I don't feel that way about Trey Lance. This guy's got 1 year as a starter, 1 legitimate year as a starter. He played the 1 game this year. He threw a few passes the year before that. Hey, that's the song of my people.
The ESPN.
My comparison to Trey Lance is very simple. 1 year as a starter, that 1 year was fantastic.
Yeah.
But I don't know how you translate to the NFL. Who does that sound like?
I think you're ready to tell me. Oh, there we go.
Trey Lance is Cam Newton. Watch him run. That's all I got. That's the 3 words that will explain to you why he's Cam Newton. Watch him run. There is a tape of Trey Lance where he's literally carrying 5 defenders down the field.
Oh, man.
Pro Football Focus called him Taysom Hill with a better arm, which is stupid. And I love Pro Football Focus. I'm bashing them sideways.
It's okay.
I don't mean to. It's just happening that way. That's a dumb comp to me. Trey Lance has all of the talent in the world. My fear is that he's going to wind up with a team that asks him to do too much and needs him to be the face of the franchise immediately. What does that sound like?
Cam Newton.
Cam Newton on his rookie deal had weapons, had an unbelievable defense.
Right.
Won a Super Bowl or won an MVP and went to a Super Bowl. What happened after that? Here's the thing nobody wants to talk about.
The planet.
This is what nobody wants to talk about with Cam Newton. He did the exact same thing I've said that Lamar Jackson will do.
Yeah.
As soon as they didn't have the money because they were paying him big time money, he fell off the world. You know why? Because he's not a very good thrower of the football. He doesn't make any receiver better. Name me the best receiver he ever had.
Cam Newton? Steve Smith.
On the backside.
Yeah.
And guess what Steve Smith did before he got out of town, or before he retired? He got the hell out of town.
Yeah.
Because he was tired of Cam Newton overthrowing him.
Yeah.
Good receivers have that. Trey Lance has some accuracy issues. He's otherworldly talented. Trey Lance requires an offense that is going to be built the same way that Josh Allen. I'll be honest with you, Josh Allen was almost the comp here. And the more I'm thinking about it, the more I wish I had said Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Because I think they're the same player.
Yeah.
Josh Allen had the biggest arm you've ever seen in your life.
Right.
And was built like a dump truck.
Yeah.
But you didn't know if he could hit any receiver. So what did they do? They built a receiver. They built an offense specifically for him. They prioritized a guy like Cole Beasley, who will go across the middle because that was a throw that Josh Allen could make consistently. Because he's so big that he can see over the line, he has the ability to make that 5-yard, move the chains throw. And that's where I think Trey Lance would be successful.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if he gets past these first little bit, I think Denver is the absolute best situation for him. Again, the surrounding him right now with that talent that they have there would be insanely good. And I think, Denver has been looking for someone, obviously, since Peyton left Denver's a really good team. They got a really good defense, and they got a lot of weapons. They just need a quarterback. Drew Lock blew his chance, and this is a kid who can come in and he can do a really good job. And I think you could see stats that would extremely impress you coming from a rookie, possibly, if he's starting there.
Kevin Vick said Dave Gettleman dumped Steve Smith. You're right to a point, but there's a reason he did that. It was universally well known that Steve Smith was getting very, very, very tired of Cam Newton.
Yeah.
That's been well documented for a long time. Notice when Steve Smith retired, by the way, when Lamar Jackson showed up. Why?
Yeah.
Because he saw a lot of similarities.
Yeah.
That's one of those things that working for the Panthers, that's one of those back kind of channel things that we all know. And I understand why Panthers fans hate him, because Steve Smith loved Charlotte. He really didn't like Dave Gettleman, and he really didn't like Cam Newton, no matter what he says at face value now.
Yeah.
The next quarterback on our list, and this is where we get out of the first round.
Right.
Kyle Trask, quarterback from Florida. Brian, give me your assessment of Kyle Trask.
All right, Kyle Trask. He's going to be tall. He's got a really nice touch on the football.
He's not going to be tall. He's already tall.
Sorry. Yeah,
he's already tall.
He is tall. I apologize. He has good placement of the ball. He throws a good ball. If he has good protection, he absolutely eats you up. But his footwork is a little bit sloppy, and he does miss the blitz recognition every once in a while. Here's my comp on him. Brad Johnson.
Ooh.
Friend of the show.
Friend of the show, whose signature is actually right there.
Friend of the show, Brad Johnson.
Asheville native Brad Johnson.
Yep.
I don't hate that. That's not who my comp is. And Adam Black kind of spoiled the surprise on this one. And I think I've said this one so many times that it almost doesn't come as a surprise. My comp on Kyle Trask is Rex
Grossman. Yep.
That's what he is. His ceiling is super limited. But he's much bigger than Rex Grossman, which kind of makes me like that Brad Johnson comparison even more. He's much bigger, but he's stupidly accurate. At Florida, he had one job: get the ball to Kadarius Toney, Trayvon Grimes, and Kyle Pitts.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that I couldn't do that, but this kid's such a gamer. I think he's going to be a legitimate pro. Yeah. I really do. I am on record as saying, if you wouldn't take a quarterback in the first round, don't take him, period. That's my philosophy. I have the exact opposite philosophy on quarterbacks that I do on running backs. I would never take a running back in the first round, ever. I would never not take a quarterback in the first round. If I don't believe in you enough to take you in the first 32 picks, I don't believe in you enough to be my starter.
Right.
And if I don't believe you can at some point be my starter, you don't have a spot on my roster.
Yeah, it's funny. I like Kyle Trask a lot. The more and more that I watch some stuff on him, I think he could be a really good low-end starter in this league. He needs to improve some things. I just think he needs to get into the right situation. And I think a lot of this is where he's going to be drafted. If he goes to, say, somewhere like Chicago, I feel like he's not going to be given an opportunity. Now, if he gets somewhere like Washington, where they can keep him under Fitzpatrick for a year or two, or whatever they want to do with that defense and the weapons that they're building over there, I think that would be a really good place for him to go.
I can't get away from Kyle Trask somehow ending up in Washington. I think it would be fantastic with Curtis Samuel. I don't think he would do much for Terry McLaurin. I really like him in Washington. I think having that running game, his ability to get the ball to Antonio Gibson out of the backfield, I think that like I said, very rarely do I ever look at a second-round quarterback and go, yeah, that's going to be a good idea. Yeah. Let's do that. I actually like it with Kyle Trask.
Yeah.
The thing that makes me nervous about Kyle Trask is he has spent the vast majority of his career in systems with coaches that know quarterbacks that have liked another quarterback better than him.
Yeah.
That makes me really nervous. And one of those quarterbacks was Felipe Franks.
Yes.
And that's not good because neither is he.
No.
Just saying. No. That always makes me nervous when guys that really know quarterbacks, and then they wax poetic about them when they finally win the job.
Yeah.
Well, if you felt that way about them, why didn't they win the job 2 years ago when you had Felipe Franks that couldn't stop throwing it to the guys wearing the other
team? Yeah, it was pretty bad.
I've never understood that. It happens a lot.
A lot.
This is a guy that's been he's been brought up a lot lately. This is a quarterback that I've been on for a while. It just seems like everybody else in the industry is finally catching up to me.
Yes.
Not trying to be egotistical, but go back and watch the tape. I've said it multiple times.
He has.
Davis Mills from Stanford.
Oh, boy.
Give me your comp on Davis Mills.
Okay, Davis Mills. This is something that I personally didn't even hear about this guy up until about 3 weeks ago. I knew he played for Stanford, but I never even thought of him as possibly being in the top 3 rounds of this draft. I thought he was going to be more of a 5th or a 6th round pick. He's a pocket passer. He works really great under center. He's really above average with play action passes. He is a little bit inexperienced, and he does have trouble climbing the pocket to get to the next regression. My comp on him is Kyle Orton.
Ooh. I don't like that one for one very simple reason. The ceiling on Davis Mills is much higher than it was on Kyle Orton. He's also much. I mean, he's about the same size.
They're
as
about they're both 6'5". Yep.
Yeah, now that I think about it.
Yeah.
Here's the thing: the biggest problem with Davis Mills is he can't stay healthy.
Mm-hmm.
He played at Stanford for parts of 3 years.
Okay.
Do you know how many times he dropped back in 3 years?
Oh, I'm not.
491 times.
That's
less than the snaps that Jalen Waddle took.
Yeah.
That's frightening to me.
Yes.
The good on this guy is really good. If you can get him around somebody that's very good with quarterbacks, I think he could be tremendous. I'll tell you the place I can't get away from Davis Mills going, and I would absolutely be drunk on it. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I could see them taking him. And I actually saw a mock draft. I can't remember. It was Bucky Brooks or somebody else that put out Davis Mills going at 32 to Tampa Bay. They don't have to take him that high, and they're not going to. I do have them in my mock that I put out before I saw that one. I had them taking Davis Mills at 64 with the last pick in the 2nd round. I like this kid a lot. I think in the right system, he could be very, very good. My comp on Davis Mills is Jimmy Clausen.
Oh! Jimmy Pickles.
I always say somebody else actually already said it.
A little Jimmy Pickles action in the house.
I think our listener base has heard a lot of me because they seem to be calling out what I'm going to do.
They know you. They know you very well.
Yeah, and, that's fine.
That's a good thing, though. I think it's a real good thing.
We're like a big happy family here. Here's the thing. I always said with Jimmy Clausen, he went to a bad spot.
Yeah.
Because Carolina at the time needed him to be more than he was.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I feel about Davis Mills. If Davis Mills wound up in Tampa Bay, I love it. If he wound up in Washington and Ryan Fitzpatrick gets hurt and he's asked to play this year, no. I don't like that at all. I want somewhere that he can sit, learn from a pro. And I'm going to be honest with you, and this is going to sound like I'm killing Stanford, and I'm not. Stanford has had a notorious problem of quarterbacks being injury prone. Back to Andrew Luck, KJ Costello that's coming out this year out of Mississippi State, the transfer from Stanford. Don't ask me why. It could be one of those good old-fashioned coinky-dinks, but I don't believe in those.
Well, they run more of a pro-style offense than most college programs do. They don't put many guys back on in shotgun and run the spread formation. They like to be play action, run the ball, so they're not, I'm not sure if that has anything to do with it, but there's a possibility. The more and more I see about this kid, the more I like him.
That's the same thing every NFL team has said too, by the way.
Right, yeah. I mean, he's just going up and up. He's your prototypical pocket passer, but he does have a little. He's not unathletic. He's not stoic in the background, in the backfield, so to speak. I think he does have not super athletic, but enough athleticism to, get out of the pocket and run for a first down if he needed to.
He's not really that.
Yeah.
He's more athletic than Mack Jones, but it's damn close.
Yeah.
He's Tom Brady athletic.
Right.
Which is why I can't get away from him.
I know, right?
The thing about this kid is he's stupidly accurate when his feet are set. The problem is in the NFL, you have to. This has become a new thing, is the off-balance throw. They're so good at off-platform.
Yeah.
Thank you, Patrick Mahomes, for that, you dick. It's a new thing. We have to say, well, how's it look if they throw off one foot and it goes behind their head? And I don't care. I care how you look on platform more than off platform. We have one last quarterback that we're going to review today on the Quarterback Manifesto, and it is Texas A&M quarterback Kellen Monde. Brian, what you think about Kellen Monde?
Kellen Monde is actually my absolute favorite of the rest of the group of quarterbacks in this draft. He's a 4-year starter. 4-year starter makes, I like 4-year starters going into the pros. He improved his interception rate. He improved his pocket passing. He improved a lot of things over the last couple years. He's a dual threat quarterback. He's not great on the deep throw. And he does check down a little more than he should. I think he needs to trust in his abilities to get the ball further down the field as opposed to just taking the easy throw. My comparison to him, he just reminds me of Dak Prescott coming out of college, big time.
He's nowhere near the thrower of the football that Dak Prescott is. He's just not. He's been in a pro-style offense. Here's the thing about Jimbo Fisher. Jimbo Fisher runs a very pro-style offense. You remember how Jameis Winston looked coming out?
Yeah.
There's a reason he didn't get him better.
Yeah.
Because he knew it's not like he was a raw ball of clay. He had been developed pretty well. Yeah. And I'm afraid that's what Kellen Monde is going to be. Kellen Monde, he has a better arm than I think people give him credit for. He doesn't make the special throws. But then again, if you watch his pro day, I saw him throw a moon ball that was pretty damn special.
Yeah.
I don't feel like he was asked to make the special throw. I feel like in the Jimbo Fisher offense, he was asked to not beat them. He was asked to use his athleticism because he is very, very athletic. He can play on the move. He can play outside the pocket. Here's what makes me really nervous about Kellen Monde. The two of the 3 worst games he had this year were against Mississippi State and Vanderbilt, who couldn't play. Their defense couldn't play dead in a Western. And Kellen Monde was fucking horrific.
Yeah.
Now, conversely, 2 of his best games were against South Carolina and Auburn, who did play a little bit of defense and have pro-level defensive prospects.
Exactly.
I can't wrap my head around that. He was good against Alabama, nothing special. He lit Arkansas up like a Christmas tree. They were really bad on defense, but they did force a lot of turnovers. I can't figure it out with him. My comp to Kellen Monde is Terrell Pryor.
Wow.
I look at him and go, you have a place in the league. I just don't know what it is. And I think if Terrell Pryor had been coming out now as opposed to 10 years ago, I think Terrell Pryor would have wound up being a Taysom Hill. That's what I think Kellen Monde is. I think Kellen Monde is so athletic that he can do a lot of things. He's also 6'3", 220 with the ability to put on more weight. He has a lean frame for a 220-pound guy.
Absolutely.
I look at him and think you could be a very special version of Taysom Hill. I don't think he's ever going to be a starter in this league. You know, the Pro Football Focus comparison is Kevin Hogan, and I don't hate that. I feel like he's a little bit more accurate than Kevin Hogan was, and I feel like he has a little bit bigger of an arm than Kevin Hogan does.
Yeah.
I just don't know that you could ever be a consistent quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
I think you're going to be more of a gadgety type player. And I think he has a role doing that. It's just getting him in the right scenario.
Yeah, I believe he's more of one of these guys that definitely needs to be in the right situation. I think the tape we were looking at where he was rolling to his left and he threw across his body on a dime all the way to the corner of the end zone, I was really impressed with that. He is the more and more now that you say this Taysom Hill thing, it kind of drives me crazy because it makes so much sense. But I just don't want it to become more a situation where this kid is locked into something like that. I think if he's given an opportunity, I like him a lot. I really do. I really do think he has an opportunity to become a starter in this league. I could be wrong, but there's something about him that I see in the way the NFL is going where he has a place in this league.
Alex Sanders said Pittsburgh's hot on Kellen Monde. I've heard Pittsburgh's hot on every quarterback, literally from Kyle Trask all the way down to KJ Costello. So any quarterback they don't have to take in round one, they've been hot on. I would not love Kellen Monde being there. I don't want anywhere that he's going to be asked to do things anytime soon.
Yes.
I want you to do athletic things. I want you to have a role. I don't want it to be you lining up under center and being the one that makes the throws. Now, that being said, Jonathan Welch in the comments said the ratio of first-round quarterbacks to elite quarterbacks disagrees with drafting a first-rounder. This is the final thought of the quarterback manifesto.
Here we go.
There are a lot of quarterbacks that on a rookie deal can look good. Mm-hmm. The hit rate that nobody ever talks about is how many quarterbacks are good on their second contract. I want you to think about how many quarterbacks were drafted in the first round that have moved this offseason. Sam Darnold, Carson Wentz, Jared Goff, Matthew Stafford. Now, he's a little older, and I understand that. But think about it. That's the part of drafting a quarterback. I have a theory on quarterbacks. I would draft one every 4 years. If I had one that was successful, I would trade him off for what amounts to a king's ransom. The LA Rams got, for Matthew Stafford, who is a 32-year-old quarterback, they got a king's ransom for Matthew Stafford. Mm-hmm. They got 2 1s for Matt Stafford. I understand they're 1 and 2 years from now. But still, that's a lot to help rebuild your program. When you can put young talent, young good talent around a quarterback. I would never be the guy that's trying to get a quarterback in free agency or trying to trade for a quarterback. I want to develop my own quarterback. Mm-hmm. And when I have to make the 5th-year option decision on a guy, that's what we'll decide. And I look at so many quarterbacks in this league, whether it's Baker Mayfield, Lamar Jackson, Sam Darnold, guys that you've had to, Daniel Jones, that decision's coming up on him.
Oh, yeah.
Of the quarterbacks that have been taken in the last 4 years, the only ones that I'm dead set that I would have definitely picked up the 5th-year option on are Kyler Murray, Josh Allen, Deshaun Watson, and Patrick Mahomes. That's it. I could easily have seen a path where I would have declined the option on every other quarterback that's been drafted, including Baker Mayfield, because I've seen what you are. Hitting quarterbacks in the draft is it's the most important thing in the NFL. The teams that wind up in the Super Bowl hit on quarterbacks. Yep. Think about the teams think about the 4 teams that were left in the conference championships this year. Josh Allen, they drafted their quarterback at 7 3 years ago. Tom Brady, he was the aberration. He was a 6th-round pick, but it was 400 years ago. Yeah. They went and got a veteran quarterback late in his career. Yeah. Aaron Rodgers, who's a 1st-round pick, been there for 400 years. Yeah. And a team's going to pull the Tom Brady thing with Aaron Rodgers. Oh, yeah. That's the 2 ways that I would acquire a quarterback. I'm either going old guy on the backside of his career, or I'm going rookie quarterback. And that's the only way I would ever do this. Dak Prescott's too much money. It's too much money. You're going to lose too many things around him. And he can't be that big of a percentage of your cap, because he can't be that big of a percentage of why you win.
Yeah, I think especially with the Dak Prescott thing, I think what's going to end up happening is Jerry's going to try to prove too much that Dak's worth it, and the whole idea of him like trying to trade up for Kyle Pitts just screams at me like that's what's going to happen. He's going to end up trying to put pieces around it to make it seem like, hey, look at Dak's numbers, we should be doing this. And in fact, what's going to end up happening is he's not going to be able to put the defense around him. He's not going to be able to put offensive line around him. And the next thing you know, Dallas is going to end up 9-7, 7-8, or I'm sorry, 9-8, 8-9. Maybe make the playoffs, but he's never going to win a Super Bowl, and Dallas is going to be the same way for the rest of eternity.
I can't disagree with you. Thank you for joining us here in the Sportsocracy live from the Wicked Weed studio. Make sure you click the little beer icon in the bottom right-hand corner. That's the subscribe button. That will tell you every time we go live, every time we put out new content. We'll be putting out 3-round mock drafts all weekend long, all day long today. We're doing every team. Our intention is to be done by the middle of next week. So your team, no matter who your team is, will be featured on this show, and I will give you my 3-round mock draft with an analysis of how these players fit. We'll also be live from this studio every pick of the 2021 NFL Draft, live from the Wicked Weed Studios, wickedweedbrewing.com. Drink different.